Yeah, yeah, yeah. Putting that extra crit on it, restanding 3 times. What do you want? That's what we do, baby. Hey, what's going on, card fighter? Just ended up beating my first opponent down pretty easily. But with that being said, how was the last discussion? Are you now want to be more competitive? Or maybe you're like, nah, it's not for me. I just want to play casually with my friends. Well, whatever you decide, if you face me, it's going to be a reality check. But now we got to think about card fight. Now in the future. What is the future of this game? Will this game still be here next year? The year after that? We don't know. I don't know. But maybe these people will have the answer that you guys are looking for. Go and take a look.
And welcome everybody to the Cardfight Con panel Future Meta Predictions. I'm your host, Echo, and I think we're probably going to go in a circle, kind of from Amy to Alphon to Jesus to Winning Image to Top Deckers, kind of for everybody to introduce themselves. So, who are you? What do you do? And where can people find you?
I'm Amy. I do a lot of things. I gotta do whatever I want when it comes to Vanguard. But you can find me at youtube.com/GleamingGarmor. You can also find me at GleamingGarmor on Twitter, where I post mainly about Vanguard and sometimes about Dangan.
Hey guys, I am the Alphonse Team Gradelock. Currently, I'm editing pretty much their videos as Henry's taking more of the content creation. You can find me on Instagram at Alphonse Zeus, Twitter at the Alphonse Zeus, and Team Gradelock on the YouTube channel.
I think Jesus, where can people find you as well?
You can find me mainly on Facebook. Daniel Herrera, and I'm also making Spanish content. In the page like Chop MX, Chop MX. That's for content in Spanish. We make like deck lists and stuff, but as I said, everything is like for Mexico down, Latin America.
Ooh, nice. Representing. How about you, Sean? Where can people find you?
Hi, I'm Sean. Some people call me Winning Image. I don't know why. But yeah, you can find me at youtube.com/winningimage, and I'm excited to have all these wonderful people at Cardfight Con today. Alphonsus and Echo looking sharp, and all these smiling faces from all over the US and the world.
Listen, I always wondered why you have 2 different Vanguard affiliated usernames.
Long story. Watch Vanguard Tubing 2 to find out.
Okay,
Promotions right there.
The self-plugs, let's go.
Yeah.
So guys, actually, where can people find you guys?
We practiced this. I remember.
Okay.
Ready?
Yep.
Hi, my name is Philip.
And this is Alex.
And we're the Top Deck Heroes.
Nice.
we got a video coming up, and it's a little bit of inside joke, but yeah, we're the Top Deck Heroes, so you can find us mostly on our YouTube channel, The Top Deck Heroes, or on our Facebook page, The Top Deck Heroes. And that's about it. We don't have a Twitter page yet.
No.
You guys, so...
This
get it, but I'll take your URL before you can.
real quick, quickly tapping away, just stealing URLs. But
I do that all the time with like Tumblr blogs.
never been on Tumblr.
I have listen. I have every variant of Garmor I can think of.
Gleaming Garmor, shining Garmor, glistening Garmor, broken Garmor, underpowered Garmor,
Blinding Garmor.
stylish Garmor,
Blaster Garmor.
Rule 63 Garmor.
Hold on, I don't have that one yet.
Sanctuary Garmor.
Yeah.
If only.
Okay, actually, you say that, but I did build Royal Paladin Garmor, where the premise was basically just bad Sanctuary Guard as a bit in like 2015.
Yeah, I mean, at its prime, they used to play Garmor, the Great 2, just to bring these no-nos. They were good.
Things, do you not think it would be interesting if like Paladins ever got like a reacher where obviously original had Liberators, if there was almost like a Sanctuary spin-off for them now, which would be kind of retrains for Garmor, for Blastoise, for everything, but as like Sanctuary Guards. So you'd end up getting Sanctuary Guard as like the main boss for like Blaster Blade, Gancelot, everybody.
Listen. If it means new Garmor card that can see play, I'm here for it.
But obviously, kind of to everybody who's kind of recently joining the panel, the main purpose of this is just to kind of for us to look towards the end of Herrera, as we all know, it's slowly coming to an end, and look kind of to Overdress and beyond. What do we think of Herrera now? How do we think it's going to keep going from here until I think the latest product announcement we have at the moment, as of recording this, is I think Client Selection Plus Volume 2, which is in March, I believe. So that's the release on March. But in terms of kind of like how Vanguard is looking at the moment, I know a lot of people have been kind of talking about how kind of like how the game's been progressing from sort of, I think the date people mention most often is from the release of Next Stage, roughly. Kind of the idea that every single consecutive set power creeps the game to a next level, obviously culminating in the most recent issue being Luard pre-nerf. And the idea that since from Altmile and Next Stage into the Cross and Alter Ego, into Night Rose and Shaharot, into Luard, into pre-nerf or pre-errata, Aqua Force, into Gurgoit, leaves us with basically 6 months of direct month-by-month power creep. I was going to say, how do you guys think that's being handled? Or what do you think is the best move going forward? Like, do you think it's maybe like coming down on cards in errata? What do you think that potentially means for the game? Kind of getting that sort of consistent power scaling across a long period of time.
I've been saying it for a while, and Gurgit is a thing that I'm talking about here. It was a step in the right direction. Defensive mechanics. You guys remember Blitz Orders? Gushiro doesn't. I'm not.
What do you mean? We just got a new one announced yesterday.
Blitz Orders.
We had a new Blitz
the
Order.
only Blitz Order we have is Switch.
Yeah, no, but we got a new one yesterday.
And that's not. This isn't a card. This is a token.
No, but we got a new Blitz Order yesterday. Legendary
we
Fighter
got a
Daigo.
new normal order not too long ago.
No, Legendary Fighter Daigo is a Blitz Order.
Yeah, exactly.
It's Quick Shield. It's a Quick Shield with a different name.
You're really pushing on my toes today.
I think.
Gosh, don't remind me that I have to buy Daigo Quick Shields now.
Dude, SP
I'm not even
Daigo
gonna
one.
Vanguard. I don't play.
Start like
I guess I do
spreading
play
them.
Royals, but it's not. It's,
Yeah. Yeah, they're going to be the Quick
We
Shields for the
discussed
Daigo
this- we
set.
discussed
It's
this
just one with
offhand.
Daigo on it. It's a Quick Shield with Daigo on it, and it's just a Quick Shield. Dude, can you imagine like an Image Ride rare, but an imaginary gift rare, where it's like Daigo wearing like a really shit cosplay of like Sanctuary Guard, like a really crap like cardboard cutout, just that like.
$250.
Dude,
Take it.
I'd pay, dude. I'd
Ride
pay.
rares, by the way.
Wait, so you're saying a Royal Paladin version of what they did to Megiddo for Bermuda?
Mogido?
Yeah,
Yes,
it's
yes.
Daigo.
That's hot. But yeah, to kind of touch on Echo's question, before we start talking about Daigo waifus and whatnot.
Preach.
I think that the extra power creep every set has been really annoying, because like clan loyalty is a big deal of Cardfight Vanguard, but the fact that it's weird because like if you're a good player, you'll just adapt to whatever changes really comes out. You know, just play test and find like how your deck can fit in that meta. But to a lot of these players who are living in the world that we are right now, it feels like they're buying sets every like a monthly subscription service to Cardfight Vanguard, if that makes perfect sense. So obviously it's good financially for Bushiroad, but as a player of the game, I kind of struggle with it just because I don't want to be shilling out money to update X deck. But one thing that they did to counteract that is they started introducing more budget decks throughout the whole sets as they release. You know, we just got Ancient Dragons with the front triggers. We're getting Blau soon, you know? No Seal, Grand Blue 7 Seas.
And like
all the things to look forward to.
Decent. Some of these budget decks are even like halfway decent. Like Ancient Dragons isn't anything special, but it is one of those decks that you can just like sack. You're
But
dead.
Blau though. Blau is better than Victor though. Unironically.
Yeah, Blau is actually actively better than Victor. Seven Seas.
It's,
Seven Seas is close. Here's the thing about Seven Seas is they're really good, especially on paper, because all of them read on attack your opponent discards a card.
Taking page out of Nubatama book in a way, or OG skills.
Because if you hit, you get a treasure marker, and that's gonna help you later. Especially if you're already at 2 treasure markers, every single one of them reads on hit, discard a card.
Isn't it as well, like, if you have 6 treasure markers, they can reach 11 attacks a turn, technically? Because all the rear guards can attack individually. Attack.
Vanguard swing stands all the rear guards.
Yeah, because
they
I
were
think
post about it, yeah.
Because I think with enough, I think one of the continuous skills, if they have enough markers, they can attack from the rear guard. So you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Attack from
6,
back row.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Give me 1 second. I literally own this card.
Yeah.
No, it is. It's one marker. The main grade 3 with one marker on the board gives every single one of your 7C's rear guards, the ability to intercept from the back row and attack from the back row. With 3 markers, it gives all your 7C's rear guard, or all your 7C's units 5k power, and then 6 markers, it's at the end of the battle of the Vanguard attack, stand all your 7C's rear guards.
This and another thing
How
to
often
consider is that doesn't mean they have to attack from the back row.
But they
You
could.
can still boost to get bigger attacks.
That extra intercept power can be at least somewhat of an argument, but I think that when people think of the power creep and how there are other alternatives besides, because when I was in Grandwood, the first thought that would come to mind would be Night Rose. But now thinking of 7Cs and now all these other archetypes that are starting to make their way in, you have at least something for everybody, somebody that wants to be super competitive, somebody that wants to just play casually. But the way that when Bushiroad approaches the set every month, when it's kind of like, okay, every single month we're getting something new, we always have to think of, all right, what does this do for the field? Because all these decks, all these clans, they all have a different mechanic that's involved in it. It could be field manipulation, where they mess with either your board or your opponent's board, hand manipulation, whether you draw cards or discard cards, as well as just power gains or quirks, such as, say, guard restriction or trying to force more cards out of hand, kind of like you have to call 2 or more to the Guardian Circle at the same time. And when trying to balance out the power creep, there's so much data coming in every month that it's going to be close to impossible unless you try and playtest every single build of every single clan against them. So when trying to go up with the power creep, you kind of have to make sure that you are not only within your budget as to what you're willing to pay in order to adapt your deck, but you're also going to have to put into practice with other players too, which makes kind of like the whole Vanguard scene quite social, because you're going to run into people that are loyal to their clan, as well as people that are willing to try out multiple decks. But the key thing is that you have to make sure you're within your budget and you're within your sanity in order to keep up with the power creep. And by doing so, instead of looking at every single clan or every single build, start grouping those clans and builds into those categories. So these are the decks that manipulate the field. These are the decks that manipulate the hand. These are the decks that have just a bunch of quirks attached to it. And that's what people should start when they look at power creep. It's like, which one of these 3 areas does it improve, and which ones do I have to keep an eye out for, especially when it gets into the locals meta, your regionals meta, etc.
Out of curiosity as well, I was wondering what people might think, because one of the arguments I heard against, because I know obviously a lot of people are seeing these kind of like monthly updates and are going, oh my god, the game is over, everything's constant power creep, how am I supposed to keep up? But one of the arguments, I can't remember if it was who was saying it to me, but during one of the interviews I was holding, somebody mentioned basically the idea that as new sets come out, they become the hype, and people don't know how to play against them because obviously they're newly released. Some people playtest, but some people don't. And if people don't playtest, they don't know how to play against it. So even if a deck is strong, the inability to know how to play against it makes it stronger in particular matchups, because you just don't know what you're doing against it. So that adds to the idea that a deck is broken, which again increases its popularity, meaning its reach widens, which means it hits more people who haven't played, which then just propagates the idea that the deck is broken, when there may very well just be, like a super simple solution of, let's say your deck relies on multi-attacks. Okay, don't have rear guards then, so they just have to waste attacks hitting nothing. There's kind of very simple counters that aren't necessarily being considered because there's constant idea that the deck is broken. Because it's not so much that it's broken, the more that it's just popular, and it's just the hype every month. So every new month sounds amazing. So I think the example that was given was in G-era, GBT 12 through 14, where even though there were a massive step up from GBT 11, they were all kind of around the same power level, but every single month, because of the order that came out, it seemed like the power creep was going up, even though conceivably you could play any deck from those 3 sets against each other. So they were a huge step up, but they were kind of in their own tier, but were balanced in their own tier. And it was only due to popularity that confusion arose in the first place.
Like, to give a good example of the other part of that, because I completely agree with you 100%. And, like, people not expecting new cards and then not knowing how to combat it. And because of that, thinking, oh, this thing is strong, but it hasn't been in the cycle long enough for people to get used to it. A great example of that is whenever a technical booster back in G-Era hit, and people did not know how to handle Optorandus.
Yeah.
You saw that thing top in a couple of tournaments, like, damn, this is crazy, this might be strong. And then a couple of tournaments later, it didn't show up.
Yeah.
What about you, Jesus? Just since you're also international like Echo, how did and I know you played in the G format as well. What are some patterns and stuff that you kind of noticed throughout this power creep kind of age?
I think that right now the power creep is being done correctly, because just as you guys were saying, sometimes the newest stuff wins just because we don't know what to expect. I think that what happened at World with Great Nature. I think Great Nature won Standard, right? Like 2 Worlds ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that's like the perfect example of that. Like, oh, what the hell am I fighting? So throughout the years, this has been happening. You know, the fact that they used to give only support to popular. I mean, you would see Kagura, Royal Paladin, Shadow Paladin. No more. Kagura, Royal Shadow. And all the support for the other clans was like kind of crappy, you know? But now, these days, I mean, the V era has been amazing. I love Vanguard, and I can tell you that have very balanced support, and sometimes the budget decks are even better than the original ones. I mean, here in my shop, I mean, this event there now, the league, there is a Pale Moon deck. The Silver Thorn deck is performing better than the Harry decks. Because it's the budget. So this is the thing. I think Power Creep right now is being done right, because everything is being put to the level that you can grab any clan you want and play it. And that's the good thing.
Like, some clans, of course, have better chances than others, but exactly that. You can play anything and have the feeling of, all right, if I play this correctly, if I know what my opponent's capable of and play accordingly, I have a chance of winning.
But actually,
depending on the deck I'm piloting, it's going to be either a little bit easier or a little bit harder, but there's still a chance there.
And that's healthy, because if I play Vanguard and I don't know, playing Dagger Railers, I like playing Aquaforce, I like playing maybe other clans that seem to have been underdogs, like for the whole format, especially focusing on V, you know, because V has been like more delicate than Premium. It's crazy. It has everything can happen there. But in Standard, like Nubatama, what has Nubatama done?
Shiranui.
It's
showed
still
up
some
once.
stuff.
Shiranui.deck, what's the problem?
But Shiranui is coming, you know, or well, it's already released in Japan, but for how many years has the Standard been around? Like 3 years?
Three. We're in
At
year
least a
3.
few, yeah. Year 3.
We're in our 3rd year right now.
Every other clan has done something. I think Nubatama is the perfect example. And that's why, well, we were talking about Genesis, you know? I mean, Genesis they're giving them the good tools for them to improve. It's not broken, it's what they need. So, you know, similar to Shadow Paladin, like, I don't think Luard is broken. I think it's what they needed. Just the combination of some broken cards that I don't know if they really have a development department. I don't think they do.
No, they didn't. They had an internal one.
So they had internal testers, but the problem with Bushiroad's internal testers is that they don't seem to know that people they don't seem to know that people like mix archetypes at all. And that's how we ended up with the whole Luard debacle, is because they weren't expecting anybody to bother to use Nemain into Bende in Luard.
But actually,
They
tinfoil
were
hats.
just expecting them to use it
Actually,
with Phantom Blaster.
if we had a tinfoil hat from, oh sorry,
Your turn.
because I was just the one thing I was kind of curious about, because obviously in the beginning I think most people are familiar with the original like story of Chaos Breaker getting leaked. If we put our tinfoil hats on for a second, what are the odds that in order to save costs, they announce that they're rehiring an external testing team only to re-announce Chaos?
Yeah.
They announced only for them to re-announce Chaos, for Chaos to get re-leaked, for them to go another 7 years without a testing team. Cost saving.
Oh, we're diving down this rabbit
cost
hole.
saving,
All right.
cost saving, bro. Cost saving.
When did this become a whole conspiracy
Listen,
theory
man.
thing?
If they look, if they're gonna spend 3 years giving us nothing but retrains, I don't see why they can't retrain lore, retrain community lore, community memes.
Retrain the events of the game.
I hate retrains. I love Shinemon Saga because they introduce new units, you know?
True. Yeah, that was cool.
That's what we look forward to. Overdress. Overdress is gonna bring new
That's what you think.
stuff.
Finally.
Yeah, like I like retrains occasionally. Like of course they were like, hey, here's a Garmor. I'd be like, okay, sweet. But I also want new units.
Like whenever
That's why Shinemon was a disappointment to me.
Hey, look, we're
because
not
we got Aggravate again.
We're not even having retrains, you know, we're having reboots of of previous retrains. I mean, it's not we didn't get Blaster something. We got Majesty Lord Blaster again. We got Overlord Cross again. We got Housebreaker Dragon. Not Housebreaker Dragon.
Yeah, just call it Overlord the
Making a
10th.
new- Yeah, the issue is them making a new Overlord card because they were gonna do that anyway.
Yeah, because V is a reboot era.
Part.
Yeah, V is a reboot era, so of course they're gonna bring back a lot of the old units. Although there are some units that are not going to get reprinted or that weren't announced yet. So like Rip Daikaiser for now. But
no.
yeah,
Dude, why you gotta bring it up, bro?
I know. I still have my trial.
Guys, pour a cola on out for our
I
boy.
want to save that conversation for later too.
Break Ride Daikaiser.
Okay.
What I want is them to make a new card with the Daikaiser character on it. You know?
More Daikaiser.
I could see that. The key thing is with just how they approach retraining units and how they approach new units. They
Different Kaiser when? DF Kaiser?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Different kinds of retrains and new units. So the way that they're trying to slowly introduce the cards again, I feel like each time they retrain a unit, it's kind of a little bit of a jolt in the market because then they realize like, oh, a new CEO is out. Let's see what CEO support we have here, or new Susanoo, or new Night Rose. So it's kind of like a way to just revolt, not only just in standard, thinking like, oh, I can bring Night Rose to standard build now, but I also now have a premium build as well that I can incorporate the new Night Rose into. So
yeah, like that's what I mean though, is like I don't have a problem with them every once in a while being like, here's the same character you know and love, right? It's the difference between like making Night Rose V and making Starlight Night Rose, you know?
Or like, I guess the difference between making like Blaster Blade and Blaster Blade Exceed. It's like it's an old phase. So it's basically like it's not a fresh. So basically, it's instead of going like if you're a premium player, because basically this is retrains are appealing to premium players, because if you're new to Vanguard, Blaster Blade means nothing to you. Sanctuary Guard means nothing to you. It only means something to you if it's one of your old favorites. But if it's one of your old favorites, giving you the same name means you can't play your old favorite. So you don't have you're never thinking how can I mix them together, because you're never mixing them because they're the same card. So there is never that element of mixing. Whereas
I don't know, man. I got that one tag old Saint Guard, you know, on Ride Search of Grade 1. They're 8Ks now.
I did this once whenever we were testing out premium.
One more time.
Whenever we were testing out premium, whenever premium collection was coming out.
Sorry, what?
You want to go or should I? I was going to give an example because we were talking about, okay, you got this new retrain, but you still want to use the old one. And granted, we don't dabble in premium too much, but when premium collection one was coming out and they were showing those strides and we were testing them out, when the Royal Paladin one came out, I made an alt mile build testing it out, and I was conflicted because on one hand, I have the new alt mile Sullivan that is a really good searcher for alt mile and does all this, but the old one, the guy that calls out stuff from deck, gives multi-attack, especially whenever you have that premium collection stride. And I was like, well, if I run 1 copy of this and like 3 copies of that, I might be able to make something out of it.
But
So there's sometimes interesting things like that where you can run different copies of it. Like in Premium Grand Blue, you sometimes play 3 new Cutlass and then old Cutlass. But then other times you end up in the Altmiles situation where Altmiles' gimmick is no counterblast, but Altmiles' old gimmick was use counterblast to do multi-attack.
do you think potentially it's well, I think personally it's two things. One is a lack of foresight in terms of you never. The thing I found with, again, admittedly, I've not been with Viera for a long time. I joined around the time Astro Force came out. So I've not been around for very long again, at least since my return. But basically, the feeling I have is they support a lot of archetypes when they come out, but they never support things leading up to an archetype. So you never have that moment when you have all these like weird cards just sitting around, and then they reveal the one card that has you make you have like that one Death Note moment where like your brain just explodes with like,
It's all coming together.
it all makes sense now, like you were planning for this.
If I'm understanding that correctly, there is one card that kind of almost did it, and it comes back
Is
to
that
Chaos
Gunsalute?
Breaker.
Chaos Breaker did that back in the day. But I was thinking Gun Salute, because Gun Salute is the closest I can think of to them being like, here's a deck. We are going to give this deck little pieces of support that push it forward. But other than that, they really do like, here's an archetype or here's a gimmick, and the next set, here's a different archetype or gimmick.
Yeah, like, there's no much like crossover too much, but then the only cards that do, so there's always gonna be like 1 or 2 cards that crosses over, but because of the only 1 or 2 cards that cross over, they're gonna skyrocket, making the new deck basically inaccessible unless you're willing to spend all that money to get those staple cards, or if you know somebody who's like selling old boxes, and then you're RNG, I guess, at that point. But like, do you think, because you guys were talking about the premium collection support, because do you think possibly one of the complications with that is because it's made to transition people from standard to premium, not the other way around? It's meant to help people from premium be like, oh, standard is cool. Sorry?
I think it's quite the opposite. I think they want to slowly disappear premium. Did you see that there wasn't a big tournament for premium in Japan?
It was interesting because I was
I mean,
talking.
they
That was the interesting part, because the one that amazed me was I was talking to Seiji from Kenny Seiji, like about a month or 2 ago, and basically the thing he mentioned to me was the premium scene in SEA, and I'll let you guys guess, but he signed up for a premium tournament. The standard tournament had about 200 people in it. By show of hands, how many people do you think signed up for the premium tournament? Sean, you know.
A show of hands?
Sean,
Really?
Sean, you know the answer.
I don't have to lift anything. By show of hands.
Wait, was it 10 or
It was 2 people. 2 people signed up in the whole of SEA. 2. Which means if you showed up, you could take half of the top 8 mats.
See you at Worlds, boys.
Dude, it's literally dude, a 2-year-old could have put, dude, a 2-year-old could have put their name down and they're at Worlds. You didn't need to win shit.
I'm surprised nobody from Standard just wrote their deck down and had a chance, because...
No, because here's the thing, because I think potentially the thing that frustrates people in transitioning from Standard to Premium, because I think the whole point of Overdress, where it's going to kind of like hinge on the balance, is it going to be a G-like soft reboot or a hard reboot? Because if it's going to be a hard reboot, I think me and Sean are aware of a few people that are probably going to quit because of it. But at the same time, if it's a soft reboot, it'll be a lot more people who join, and Premium will probably come to life a little bit. I suspect in the West, it's a bit more of like the collector mindset that keeps people playing Premium, in terms of like, this card's still really good in Premium, I'm gonna keep playing it, and I promise I'm not just trying to justify my Geese purchase, but it's kind of the idea of like, in a way, this has to keep being meta. But in a sense, like, do you think potentially a problem is that where it's standard? Because the strides for premium collection are very clearly tailored towards standard plus decks. So like, is it Groglock Dragon, the recent Gear Chronicle unit, that is like when attack like ride a different unit?
A grade 4.
Yeah, so because you get to do it into a next stage into a Chronojet, like it's clearly meant for the standard deck, but then it means that for premium players who don't like standard, it's like a dead set, because even if the card is for their clan or for their deck, it's not made for their deck the way it's meant to be played. So like, standard and premium Gear Chronicles play differently. Standard and premium Link Joker plays differently. They don't work the same way. So things that support standard Link Joker are like dead in the water for premium Joker, because they're not the same deck. Even a return of an archetype, it doesn't work the same way.
like, correct me if I'm wrong, but most, like, taking Gear Chronicle as an example, and no, probably if Mr. Timeleap's watching this, he's going to be rolling over like crazy. But if taking Gear Chronicle as an example, most premium Gear Chronicle players play, I assume ZTB, right?
Yeah, ZTB and Time Leap, yeah.
Mhm.
Exactly. So in ZTB, you are binding a decent amount. What's stopping you from taking the premium collection stride and throwing 1 or 2 mystery flares into your deck and going ham like that?
Are you really binding in the multi-attack ZTB build though?
Yeah,
All that much?
if
A
you
decent
run
amount from what I remember.
Because what you could do, you could run Demiurge. It's like almost like a meme build, and that
Yeah,
way
like
we end up with
that's
so
what I'm
many
saying,
tiles
like,
that
yeah.
you have the option of like
Demiurge.
extra turn, because it's a standard grade. Hang on, tear cracking for a second. Because it's a standard
You
grade
can
4.
ride mystery flares.
You can ride Mystery Flare, get an extra turn, and that extra turn Demiurge or Mystery Flare. So it skill activates into Demiurge at the end of the turn, destride, get Mystery Flare back, and you basically get 2 direct turns of your Demiurge like stack.
You're forgetting Heritage.
Okay, so here's my thought. Yeah.
Welcome to Gear Chronicle deck building.
Like I said, Eric is going to be turning in his watching this.
First,
Big brain.
Progenitor Dragon Stride. Okay, we need the Progenitor Dragon face up to pull this off.
Do we though?
Normal ride Mystery Flare. Your hand for extra turn. A stride.
Sorry, I'm getting a little hot under the collar there. 1 second. Ooh.
Then you stride Heritage on your next turn. You attack with Heritage. You are stacked. You restride to Heritage and take a 3rd extra turn. Does that work? I need to read these cards. Does that work?
All right, so there's gonna be playtesting involved just to see how this actually all turns out.
Well, just to kind of touch on Gear Chronicle, since we're talking about it, future meta, like for Gear Chronicle, definitely looks like the promo Ribble is gonna carry the deck. So,
Oh, hell yeah.
yeah, so
S tier in Japan because they have that promo.
Let's go, baby.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
Ribble?
I'm ready, baby. Let's go.
yeah, so what do y'all think of the whole like promo situation? Because
Clan selection not included.
Promos were
Echo.
shit.
Echo, I'm gonna say this to everybody. Let's do this without saying anything negative. Okay. Go.
Clans not included. You can't reference clan selection.
Not the best situation, you know?
Because it separates our meta from the Japanese game so far because there's so many decks that are just like promos were that one extra push they needed and now they're good.
Laughs in
Let me say my thing
in
real
Mega
quick.
Colony.
The only thing I got to say about promos, especially now that we know that some promos are coming in Clan Selection Volume 1 and Volume 2, the only thing I got to say about promos is Link Joker. All right, now you.
Okay, by the way, I did just check Mystery Flare. It puts the effect on the stack to the end of the turn, and then you discard your hand at the end of the turn. So we can do this. You still need the Progenitor Dragon to make sure that you can stride Heritage, though.
Boys, I suspect that is what we call the Giganut. I suspect it might just.
Anyway,
Is that it?
I'm quiet
So-
and making the list.
So,
Promise.
on the promo situation, a Yasue player should not have to settle for having to pick up a promo that should have been their triple rare.
Mm.
And their triple rare being what would have been their promo. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, the promo skills have, let's just say, they have increased exponentially since their first reveal all the way back in the OG set 1 in terms of their usability. You had some pretty good quality promos from the OG to G era and now V era with all these promos, and you see how interesting they are and how their price is kind of
Interesting.
interesting to say the least. And I think that what makes the promos stand out like that, I think when Bushiroad tried to say, hey, we want to make these promos more useful, but then when you make the promos more useful than some of the double R's and triple R's in the set, then there's,
Just
you know,
comparison.
they're flirting with the line. So when they think about designing promos, they either want to make it a little bit more accessible than just like, you know, either a buy a box promo or something you get for entering tournaments. Maybe if they provide technically 2 printings of it, that can at least help with the distribution aspect of it. Because seeing both of the extremes in promos, how bad the promos are, where they're barely quarters out of the box, to now when I just see like Panatone going for like $30 on
Laughs in
TCG
twin
player.
order.
And twin order.
I was about to say twin order, yeah.
Yeah.
I may or may
And
not have had
you see
5
how
at one point.
disappointed you can be when you open your promo packs from your local, right?
Mm.
Because like I remember when the Eagle, the grade 2 5K Eagle was a promo, and every time I'd open packs, I wouldn't pull it, and then I'd be like, "What is the rest of this? All the rest of these are terrible. Who's playing these?"
Well, no, when
I
you,
need help here. What was the name of that one Murakumo grade 2 that broke Hyuga that everybody needed before Anaheim?
Myanmar.
$40 promo, just because.
That's the triple version. $30 for the normal one.
Sure.
It's like we're watching V Time.
But I think that we agree with it. We had the best promos. However, the problem is not. We have 2 problems here. First problem is the amount of bad promos that we're getting, either Japan and with us. That's the first one. The second one, as you said, the availability of these cards. I mean, we are finally getting back the promos, but not as promo. We're getting them as one piece. I mean, the Gear Chronic, the Gear Chronic card, the All Mile promo. We need to buy four cases, or we need to buy them at an overpriced price. You know. So this is very detrimental for people who want to build a deck. As the twin order, all these promos that you would only get. I mean, it was difficult to get twin orders in tournaments that were supposed to be held during coronavirus stuff. You know.
Yes.
Yeah, like it gets even worse.
Go on.
Oh, it gets even worse. Like if you think about it from Japan, some of these promos they've been releasing, like I think it was like the Claret Sword one.
Oh yeah.
Like a lot of those, they still never haven't gotten in Japan. Like a lot of the Yasue decks are not running that grade 2 promo I was talking about because they still have yet to get it, and it's being like bad delays even for them to get promos, let alone just for the U.S. to get or the international to get them.
On top of that, it's still the same. There's one still overarching problem that is even more detrimental now that the promos are actually good. As anytime we see a promo, we're like, okay, cool, Japan's getting this promo. What are the chances English is gonna get this promo? Not very good. Now the promos are good. It's like we need this. We need this.
Yeah, because whenever we're doing our proxy plays and we're testing these cards, a lot of the times we're considering it's like, should we even attempt to even put this in the deck and try it out because there's no guarantee that we'll even get it. A good example was before forgot her name. The grade 2 for Astro Poets, the one that gained a marker when you wrote it. And,
Mitsuki.
We didn't know that was rare.
we didn't know it was a rare at the time, but for a long time we're like, we didn't even know if we were going to get it. So why even test it if we don't even know if we're going to get it? And it's the same situation now, even worse, because we don't even know when we're going to get some of these promos, like the grade 1 for Messiah. We don't even know when we're going to get it because even the collections that we're going to be getting, the volumes, we're just not even guaranteed in there.
Yeah.
Why would you even buy things where
we don't even
you see them? You don't know if you're gonna get them.
Hmm.
Like Almile, I mean, I didn't know if we were gonna get the promo for Almile. That's why I didn't buy the card, because I knew Bishop was gonna push the launch of that promo or not even launch it. It's like time frame. I think we're getting banged too late, a little bit too late.
Yeah, like almost. What are we getting? Like 7 months?
Yeah,
too late?
Bangrim. Yeah, that's why I said 4-1 out when we were talking about them getting revealed at all.
Yeah.
Quick warning, I'm going to disconnect real quick so I can grab something to make a point.
Oh boy.
No worries.
Okay.
All right.
He's actually buying his PS5 right now.
Yeah.
No,
Do you,
My
guys,
mic.
do you guys think there could potentially be an argument being made for promos acting as box toppers for future sets to encourage less well-selling sets to still go out?
That's a must. That's a must. Box stoppers over there. Yeah, definitely.
This is a good example. This
Well,
is
yeah,
a good
well-
example. I'm about to show 2 promos that I didn't even know were getting in English until my store gave them to me.
you have a whole bag. You could obviously send some around. Spread the love.
Maybe I hear you selling them around, baby.
Did anybody know we were getting these in English?
Nope.
We didn't even know until our store told us, which was kind of sad because Bushiroad never even made an announcement.
Yep. And what's the point of having their official Twitter?
What do you mean, Sean? Sean, how are they supposed to announce their new if episodes are up on their YouTube channel if they don't use their Twitter? Come on, man.
Well, what's the point of their Twitter page if they just translate the Japanese cards?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm not trying to bash Bushy here.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that
I just wish they would announce more.
We complain because we love the game.
Use your social media to progress your game. Use your platform how it's supposed to be intended.
To announce certain things, and the things they do put on there are good, but they could be using it more.
See, not to bash on them like we said, but I honestly don't see the point. When a set comes close to release, why am I seeing on Bushiroad's English Twitter Rising Nova in its English form? It's cool, but I already know what it does, and most community probably already knows what it does. Seeing it as a Twitter post is like, you could have announced anything else that could have bettered the community.
Could have shown this.
I do think that the English lead-up posts are just as necessary as the Japanese lead-up posts, but because that will inform people about the game in some way. But I would like to know about the promos.
Yeah, it's.
Sorry, let me just make this point and then I'll shut up for a while. There's one thing, if Japanese Bushi and all the Japanese cards that would get leaked were in a vacuum and everybody on the West, everybody that plays the English one didn't know those are existing, then all go for it, show these leaks, show these cards, because we're in a bubble. We don't know these things exist. The problem is, we know they exist, and they're actually very well communicated, especially whenever a stream happens. Bushiroad uses their English Twitter to showcase the effects of the stream. So it's okay, you're showing us these stream cards, but we're going to get them 2 months later.
Yeah, so we can either cut the stream translations, or that'd be the worst option. I think we need the stream translations because sometimes wording is unclear when people are translating. Or cut the pre-release translations. One of the two,
There's one solution that's gonna fix it all, but
extra.
there's one solution that's gonna fix it all. You said it multiple times, and you're hoping for it to happen, but it's never gonna happen. Same set releases.
Music to my
They
ears.
release English and Japanese at the same time.
Yeah, so I think when it comes to just the releases and how Bushi's putting out the stuff, because before I would hear from Bushiroad's official releases, so my friends in my play group, we would just share articles not only from Bushiroad, but from Black Rose, Musketeer Drevlin, I think it was. I would usually hear about the leaked Japanese cards first before Bushi posted up. So if anything, it's always knowing that Bushi, they would release their cards what's on their own schedule, but a lot of times, especially for people that's in the know in the competitive community, we would always get cards pretty well in advance, usually through the other sources like Black Rose Musketeer. So when going through how people are getting their information, getting it from the official source is fine, but then realizing that when you get it from people that are just as invested in the community and the card game itself, like those fan pages, though a lot of people will gravitate towards those pages first because they're the ones that usually get the leaked cards in play. And of course, when Bushiroad has their own release schedule, they always consider okay, what are we going to confirm with these skills? We're going to promote out, and then we'll just post it. It seems like
honestly, I'm trying to think of the last time I learned about a new card through the Bushiroad Twitter, because it's always either I used to check Cardfight Coalition, but I don't think they're keeping that up very much anymore. But then it would be either the WCC stream reactions, the different fight stream reactions, W Slasher. I just watched somebody's stream reactions on YouTube, and that's how I get my news.
Facebook, Black Rose, and Silverphone. Those are the two to go.
I'm I don't know what this says.
If I may suggest something. If Bushiroad's watching this, you have one solution
Hit up
Hey,
your
I know
creators.
y'all saw it.
Hit up your
Hey,
creators a
if
little
you're
more.
listening,
Yeah,
I will do this. I will
but
do a podcast for you personally.
you know,
Maybe.
I've been playing this game for 1/3 of my life up to this point, probably
Okay,
more.
boomer.
But one thing that I will say that is kind of elitist. I don't think you guys are going to take it out of context, but to fix this game, just make it a global release. Make Overdress a global release.
Pachi.
All right, Sean 2036, what's your winning image?
Yeah. Okay. That's right.
Yeah, like we've had it once.
Yeah, we had it once. It was a Bermuda set, right?
Yeah.
The
Bermuda.
that
Oh
we got
yes.
at the same time.
Bermuda and Fighters Collection that one year, 2014.
Yeah, that's right.
It'd be great because then everybody would be on the same level.
And it would make playing the game
That's a
more
business
exciting.
perspective then, because then you don't know. Okay, you got a Japanese Bushi needs to communicate with English Bushi and communicate the effects and release them at the same time. It probably is some sort of business or communication venture.
At the same time, we can unify worlds.
Easy solution. Merge Bushiroad into one Bushiroad. You have this giant tower in Singapore. I mean,
This is how we get
Yeah,
wealthy.
everybody goes to the town. And sings one.
but yeah,
Should we then hold up? Should we then even bring up, for example, Vanguard Italy?
Okay,
If people know what I'm talking about.
Listen, man, we can take it
They have
and
the
push
most
it
amazing
somewhere
promos.
else.
ever.
they're just starting stride. They made an Italian game and they were like, we're going to start it from the beginning.
Hey,
And on
but
one hand, that makes sense because then if Italy ever ends up with a premium scene, then they need the old cards. But on the other hand, you're playing GBT01.
And you're just out there be like, bro.
It worked for them. That's all right.
Your thing is the only
Yeah,
reply is, bro, I'm not a Gears main, but I can tell you guys your future. Just read them out how every single one of their sets is gonna go.
I would think the future.
Like,
I'll tell you what, though.
I think Vanguard Italy is a fun little social experiment because it's like, what do they do with the deck list, with all the Thing Saver Revenger deck lists on the internet, you know?
Dude, it's like this like actual peak solve meta. It's like not only is the meta solved, the meta has been solved for about 7 years. This is like Brood War solved meta.
No, and that's what I was gonna say. You know, if you global release it, it makes the game more exciting for, say, a group such as WCC that has players all over the world. Us have connections across many countries at Cardfight Con. You know, you make the game more exciting if you global release it because you give us a reason to play it with each other. And a card game is, at the end of the day, is a 1v1 thing, but it's also interactive. And that's why we all like Vanguard. But then there comes a point to where we got to step back and say, we want this game to be the absolute best it could be, and here's the easiest fix.
Dude, imagine you playing a 1v1 with
I'm
your
gonna say
with your
something
SCA
crazy
friend.
that probably won't happen, all right?
I just realized
When are we
something.
getting multiplayer rules for Vanguard?
I just
When are we
realized
getting
something that's
Battle Royale?
ironic and funny.
Oh wait.
Don't we
what?
already have that technically? They already have team relay matches.
We don't have a battle royale format per se. We have tag
and we
then
have
we
relay.
have we have relay fight.
Hmm.
Relay fight is really cool, by the
It
way.
is.
I wish I had some means of like setting up relay fights because the idea is so fun. You can build decks for relay and be like, okay, we're gonna play like Pale Moon DI Soul Saver.
No, because the
You
interesting
were saying?
I do want to say one thing. I think it's funny and ironic that we're wrapping up our G reboot, and Italy's just getting their G. We've lapped them twice in a generation.
bro,
No,
one
even
could
better-
say
even
we've
better
one
realization
could
that just came. Was Italy launching Vanguard from 0? The test to try Vanguard 0?
Oh my god! All right.
They are the
No,
one
the-
thing is no,
Vanguard
because
really started to put
thing
in
is we
zero,
we
like, that
if we're
probably convinced them.
if we're finishing G when they're starting G, one could say we time leap them. Thank you. I'm a head
Oh
out.
my god!
I'm a head out.
Cardfight
Okay.
Vanguard dad joke. Oh my god.
And that's
But
Alright, boys, I'm a
Well-
head out.
well, Cardfight Vanguard Italy. It's cool to see that there is such an equivalent as of like a WoW Classic form, except that now this is Cardfight Classic. So
Wow,
it's
wow, vanilla.
cool seeing. Yeah, like this. Yeah, this is Cardfight G vanilla, and just seeing that scene kind of develop over time. But then when going through just the global release argument, yeah, it's great to see everybody come up. It's like a launch party for a brand new game. You see people lined up all over the world, just waiting to get their hands on the new stuff, and then just play online and post about it. It's
And like, think
really
about like
cool.
fighting game players, for example. You can't go on Twitter without seeing fighting game players from all over the world, like trying new tech, combo labbing. They're just always talking about what's going on because they're all playing the same path.
Do you think
so? They're all playing the same game, the same update of the game, and they can share what they've learned with each other, and it will be consistent.
Do you think there's potentially an argument being made that if the game launches simultaneously between kind of West and SEA, that there's, because obviously as we've seen, there are very much so different play styles spamming from both, you know, SEA and global. They can play the same decks, but in very different ways. You can kind of identify from their tech choices. So, for example, you know, when it comes to Gear Chronicle, for example, a lot of SEA players are going to run Stroboscope Dragon, whereas that's not so popular on the Western side. So, do you think there could possibly be more?
Or Western players playing Earcode.
Yeah, so for example, like as when it comes to a solved meta, like we're basically going off of, okay, we've done our playtesting, but this seems to work in JP, so we're gonna kind of do that. Whereas if you have two things going at the same time, I think there's gonna take longer for the meta to be solved, solely because you're gonna have people going like almost, you're not gonna get like, you know, stroboscope v stroboscope matchups. You're kind of going to get stroboscope v ear club matchups all the way, and you're like, maybe which one of us is doing it better, because we're doing it differently, but we're doing it differently at the same time. Not like they've done their testing, I guess we're just going to bounce off of that, but they're never going to interact with our testing in the way we interact with theirs, because we just don't have the units. Whereas, because CFA helps, but CFA isn't the same as me and Sean sitting across from each other at a desk being like, oh, it's sneak peek day, fucking let's go. It's not the same, I think.
Look, man, like I posted a blog video playing the Bengal order. Japan had it in 2 of their 3 topping blow lists, so they're copying me, net decking. No, but actual value to the conversation. I'm actually curious, you know, because all of us like have that one card that we found that came out really well. You know, I obviously Jesus with Sarugal at Worlds 2 years ago. You know, all the top deck heroes with their proxy plays kind of figuring out what works. And, you know, Alphonsus is always working with Vision and Gleaming Garmore's on CFA. What's like, when do you guys like decide like what cards to like run with certain cards, you know? Just that kind of talk. Because that kind of goes with the solve meta question.
So
Sometimes
for us,
sometimes I just try things and then
An
I'm
hours
like,
and hours
wow,
of
I got
testing.
really bad on CFA because of it.
see, for us, it's a little bit harder because it's like, all right, we see the card. We have how to build this. What's our card pool? What can we? Because that's the biggest problem. Like, all right, we need to print it. Now we need to test it. Does it work? Not really. Ooh, this other card would work. Do we have it printed? Nope. Well, shit.
We have like a lot of the times when we get these, because we drop ours so close to whenever the reveals happen, we have maybe a couple of hours to test. So we're playing quite a bit of multiple games before we record and testing out different, you know, interactions and stuff like that. And sadly, a lot of the times we don't even get the chance to see the full thing, because when you see a leak, it'll happen, say, we'll get 2 or 3 cards and not the entire deck, and then it'll change completely with another card that comes out.
Man, I hate those days when we get a stream and they show like 3 cards for the archetype, and it's like, all right, let's build the deck, test it out, tweak it a little bit. All right, we record the video. It is 8:30.
5 more archetype cards.
The what?
Just like the rest of the archetype all then.
Oh, yeah, pretty much. Like, oh, the grade 1 would have been nice. Let's
Yeah.
done that before.
Like, we just recorded it. Here's today's leak. This would have been amazing in it. This would have fixed a lot of problems.
But
So like to give you an idea of like how my playtesting goes, I pulled up my Gurgit list, and right now I'm trying out Golden Beast Rampage Turtle. Anyone here familiar with that card?
Can you give a refresher?
Grade 2. It's a grade 2 8K that has a Battle Door skill if you have more rear guards than your opponent.
Oh, I think I know which one.
yeah.
Yeah,
Huh.
it was a promo.
The turtle.
Dude,
Yeah. But I found that the Rampage Turtle is really good for having, like, it's one of those cards that's like, while you're calling everything else by skills, you can still be like, okay, normal call Rampage Turtle to the Excel Circle, and then it's at 13, and it's a poke that your opponent has to battle for. Just take.
Yeah. I mean, that's the beauty of
I
standard.
also
Like, you
noticed
can throw in tech
very,
options
very
that people might
bad
not
against
think of, and they just work for you and get you some wins.
Yeah, like with the way that playtesting philosophy approaches, I was a kid that, you know, you playtest before the set comes out, but then as time goes along, I end up just playtesting like as the set launches, because that's when, like, okay, everyone's in there and everyone already has brought in some sort of data. So when I would look at just like the leaks and stuff, I would just theorize and think like, okay, what can this card do with this card, or this card does with that other card. And then when I would put the deck together, I would just see like, okay, how does it work? Because for the first 2 weeks after set release, we're going to see if what people say online is confirmed, or people can dismiss it and make up their own meta. So when going through that first 2 weeks, that's probably the most crucial time of playtesting, because that's when everything is live. There's nothing more to be leaked. There's nothing more to be discussed about, except for the reactions to the predictions and seeing like, okay, is this confirmed?
See, this is that exact thing you just said is one of the reasons why we do the thing on our channel, Proxy Play, and why we do it so fast. And the reason we don't do those videos is not, okay, here's the way you're supposed to. That's not why we do it. We do it, all right, here's some cards that we think it might work with this, and play it. That way people almost the next day have an idea of, all right, these leaked cards work this way, do these combos, have this kind of flow. The cards they use in the video, oh, look, these work. Or people might go, I don't think that works. I think this other card might work better. Like, it gives people a better idea looking at the deck and seeing how it runs and plays. Even if it's a little bit not optimal or some of the combos are not quite right, it still gives them a preview on what the deck might be capable of, and starts the whole thinking process, that 2 week period of, all right, let's make this deck work.
Hamster will go.
Exactly.
I think there needs to be more value placed on these suboptimal like day one deck tests. While they're definitely not what you're going to stick with, because you're going to optimize, you're going to innovate. It gives you an idea of where we're at our initial thoughts. I feel like more people need to talk about all the playtesting they do before they end up at their final list. In fact, I find it really interesting when deck profiles are like, okay, here's the list I've been playing, but here's the changes I've made to this list over time.
See, a big one like that was. Sorry.
Right. I was done.
Yeah, a big one like that, a really big one recently that happened for us like that was whenever Big Belly first got announced. When Big Belly first got announced and everybody started speculating, a lot of people were talking about the Hemusuke grade 3 that puts a grade 3 into your soul immediately on your first Big Belly ride, and then starts that combo off. So we were like, all right, let's print it, let's test it. We did a lot of play tests with it and just found it doesn't feel right, or at least to us, it didn't feel right. So whenever we did our first video on Big Belly, we didn't use it in the video. We went a completely different route, and in our playtesting, it actually performed better than with the grade 3.
But then you got the rest of the Big Belly support, and you were like, huh.
Exactly. But the problem was like, we playtested that grade 3 and then decided for the video, I think this is a better. But then we got so many comments like, hey, you should test this out. You know, this grade 3 exists and can put it into Soul immediately.
Yeah.
But
I think the...
You know,
oh, yeah,
of
sorry.
course, not to dumb every YouTube comment down to, because like I've definitely gotten some good comments. Like I remember I made a video a while back that happened to blow up because I said MLB is the easiest to obtain meta deck as the title, and that was also right before Set 4 came out in English 0.
True.
But I remember somebody commenting on that, like, hey, couldn't you have just dropped the order for the perfect card? And I was like, yeah, that was definitely a misplay I did. You get comments that are like, could you have done this instead? And I'm like, yes, these are good comments. And then sometimes you get comments that are like, my first real hate comment I ever got on one of my videos was on a video I took at locals right after the Try 3 TDs came, right?
Was it Danny
We
Dang?
played the TDs against each other, and I got
The
a
man, the
comment
myth,
that
the
was
legend.
like, "Not even complete decks.
Rider
What are you
Packers.
guys doing?" I uploaded it the week after the next stage came out.
Well,
What do you mean,
it-
bro? It's not even a complete deck. It doesn't even have 15 promos yet. How's it supposed to be played?
Yeah,
I'm gonna try something.
listen. I feel like more value needs to be placed on not only the not done yet playtesting, right? But also the casual Vanguard videos, you know? Because while I don't consider myself to be a casual Vanguard YouTuber, because I do try to talk about things that are incredibly relevant, I still think that like every once in a while you just need that chill video that's just like, oh yeah, I picked up the Alt-Mile TD, let's play it.
I think there should be a lot more emphasis, but I know this is probably more for the Vanguard tubing, but I think it's probably an interesting topic to touch on. It's kind of the importance of understanding that not everyone is a competitive player. Not everybody wants to play meta because, you know, dude, like I'm sad there. Like half the time I want to make it less. Like I want to make Messianic Blaster that works with MLB. I want to make a Chaos that just auto wins on Egorg. I want to play Glendios because I don't care. I want to play Photon and Blaster Joker because I like Legion as a mechanic. Like, it's kind of all these little things that I'm like, people are always like, but it's not optimal. You could do this. I'm like, yes, but it's going to be really fucking funny when it goes off. And that's what I'm playing for.
So like,
I'm playing
for example, right? Like I'm looking at my CFA decks. I've got the relevant ones. I've got the big bellies, the Gurgits, the Luards. But then I've also got a bunch of limited pet decks, first of all. And then I've got 2013 Spec Duke that I built like 2 months ago.
Okay, Jesus, you were trying to say something, sorry.
I've got like
Yeah, he was trying to say something.
yeah.
So I just would like to add something. Thank you very much for having me here. I gotta go, but just like I want to pick something and add it to the conversation. I think that fun decks are the things that make you be a better player because it gives you a deeper understanding of the clan as it is. The fact that you can play with different decks, the fact that you can play against different decks. I watch your proxy videos, guys, just a lot. You know, the top the heroes. I like them a lot. I watch them to get like how to play other things. How to. I think that people would get a lot out of the Vanguard experience if they proxied more. If they played test, they played more fun decks. If they try to do more about like. If they try to combine, just as you were saying, the meta with the fun thing and see if it works, just as this like Silverthorn card that you can flash into Harry and get a bunch of him, and if it happens only once, that's amazing. Like the all my cards in the Majestic Blaster deck, and it works amazing. I don't know, like, and to never forget about these old cards and playing the fun decks. It would helps you keep in mind things, you know, like the Gunning Colio and Gordora, and like like the Scorpion, you know, the Scorpion that you get called and you start another unit and you keep attacking. I mean, all these little interactions comes from people who play fun decks, comes from people who are aware of their clan and stuff. And commenting on what Sin was saying about like simultaneous release, this would be so healthy for people who had become clan specialists, you know, because they would have like the most broken deck from the beginning of the set. And then they could create content and they could create like different kind of stuff. And before I leave, I think that Bushiroad's like social media for English, they don't seem enthusiastic about the game. When you see like people talking about cards in Japan and things about that, like the posts, you see like the difference about it. But then when they come to English, it's just like the same translation. It's just like, I mean, the fact that they put the fact they put an exclamation mark on the text doesn't mean they really feel excited about it. And I think that is the problem, and that's why people go to these like fan-made pages or like to YouTube channels and stuff. So I think that what Bushiro should do is giving this new information to official channels. You know, they should.
Oh yeah.
Because we have channels.
Yeah,
we have
like what they did with Premium Collection 2, but like all the time.
Yeah, come on. I mean, but we're getting the information from the Japanese source, or we're getting information from YouTubers who are excited, but they are not getting any any extra information. They're getting what everybody's getting at the same time. So that's when it becomes dull and boring. So I hope that I love being here, guys. Thank you very much for having me here.
Thanks for jumping by, man.
Mexico.
Glad to have you. We had fun.
Thank you.
Take care, man. Thank you.
Hey, Jesus,
Same,
before
man, it
you
was
go,
fun.
Yes.
before you go, Jesus, be sure to catch Jesus on the World Champions panel when he returns.
Ooh.
Hey.
So-
Yeah.
But
Bye.
take care, man.
I do have like a topic to spring off of from the fun deck discussion, and that's you guys ever try limited fight? This is the second time I mentioned it in this panel.
I
Because
was
limited
thinking
fight makes you look at all these weird cards that are just like,
Actually,
are these any good?
So I was going to say, actually, for example, just springing off the deck, like, for example, what I challenged myself at one point because I realized, I was like, I'm opening all these boxes, chasing very specific cards. So out of opening all of my next stage and all of my Astro Force packs, I have this. This is a playset of every single Gear Chronicles card that is rare and below. This are all the rares and commons for Gear Chronicles. Most of these are cards I never even knew existed, let alone thought about how to play. Their bindings or premium support. Like, how many of you guys ever thought about playing... where is it? I literally just had it in my hand. So you guys know that clockwork thing, that clock giant from Astro Force? This boy.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
So you guys know this
with,
card, right? You guys are familiar with
Yeah,
this
that
card?
card.
Oh yeah.
So for the second edition, one place, bind a card from your hand, and until the end of turn, your opponent would call from his or her hand to get out the end circle. They must call 2 or more at the same time. Have any of you ever tried playing this in Time Leap?
It's busted.
Wait a minute.
Cutting edge news, folks. Get those buyouts ready.
Like, have you
But
ever
like, see, that's what I'm talking about, right? Is like that's a card that I know exists because I run a Discord server for limited fight.
But
Like when you play these other like alternative formats that make you play the fun decks, the less relevant decks in overall Vanguard, you learn about like these little cards that you can use to make better combos later.
it's like when people play Neo Nectar and they're like, wow, Asha tokens are real good, but I never feel like I can generate enough tokens. Have you looked at the rest? These are all cards that generate tokens.
Yes, there's so many commons in that to make tokens. Have you read Fruitosaur's Dragon, by the way? Fruitosaur's is pretty funny.
Like, it's all these different cards.
Because like if we were to just bring back Token Rush, then like Fruitosaur's would be the way to go. That card's so good.
Like, it's all these different cards that people almost seem to forget they exist because they're going in with this like chase of, they're almost going in chasing the high rarity cards. They don't never stop to go. Like, when people open their pack of 7 cards, what they do is they pull the last 2 cards out and yeet the rest away because they're never going to read through the cards.
Not wrong.
But yeah, what was Alex? What were you trying to say?
Oh, yeah, I completely agree. And one of our gameplays recently was a great example of that because for the longest time when we were doing Shiranui, we honestly were like, man, this has no way to really finish it out. I mean, cool, you're doing all this stuff and finishing it out.
You read the bird.
And we couldn't find the missing piece for a long time. And then somebody in Japan has this, is it a common or a rare grade 3 that said if they were to guard with a card, they can't guard with the same grade for the rest of the turn. And it's like the missing piece to like that one card to say, here's a great way to finish out the game because they can't physically guard everything.
No, there's 4 attacks and you have 4 grades.
Yes.
If you're running grade 4s.
But
Actually,
you still
but
can't
grade 3s and
guard
4s
with
can't
grade
guard.
4s. So you're probably taking a hit
Counting
late
card.
game. And it was a card that probably nobody ever would have thought of, and somebody in Japan probably said, hey, let's try it out.
Yeah, so Morishige was actually a card I ran in my Nubatama premium list back in the day because I would be like, hold on, what was it? What was it?
Because I
It
think
was.
oh, sorry.
Yeah, so when they call the when they call out of Rene, that's grades they called.
Like, interesting enough, I think one of the interesting things I've noticed is it seems to be the most like not even intelligent or clever, but the most like revolutionary upgrades to decks seem to come from like the budget players, from the people who can't afford to spend $140, $150 every single month on resets. They just have to work with the packs they pull from sneak peeks, and they're like, okay, so I have these 10
Because
comments,
people are
can I make
testing
them
what
work?
they have.
Exactly. They're not like, for me personally, I know one of my flaws is I'm a horrific deck builder, but I'm very good at learning decks I've tried. so I can pick up decks really quickly. So I net deck, so I can pick up a deck really quickly. But I'm very bad at building decks. I like tunnel vision. I'm horrific at it. Philip out there just like about to have a seizure. He's like this.
I think I found a great example. This is at least for us. I don't know if anybody else thought about it. Probably have. Whenever Overlord first leaked with the Alter Ego Messiah and its skill and all that, when we were building the deck for the video, I went through all the Kagura cards to kind of look at, okay, what exists, what could work? And I stumbled on Calamity and said, you know, let me try this in there. And look at where it is now.
And it's funny because a lot of people were complaining about the Soul Blast cost too, and like, oh, there's too much Soul Blast. You can't try this out.
Have you guys ever read Red Dive Griffin?
No.
That's like a kind of old Kagura card that saw playing Blade Master recently, because it's like when your opponent places a Guardian, you can Soul Blast one and then retire Red Dive Griffin to retire the Guardian.
Oh yeah, I think I saw that.
Yeah,
It doesn't break PGs, but it breaks.
Oh yeah, I did play that in Blade Master, didn't I?
And the way Red Dive Griffin makes your opponent interact with you is that they have to think about what order they're placing things down in now. Because they have to be like, if they have like a crit sentinel, right? They have to be like, okay, here's a 15k, and then they ask you if you're gonna break it. And
use that. I used that whenever I built a Blade Master with the first OG Blade Master, and threw in Waterfall as a finisher with that card.
Yeah. That card is really good.
Sean quakes.
Oh man, Waterfall finisher.
Speaking of Blade Master, I love Blade Master. It's one of my main decks. There's a card that I think is an amazing card in Blade Master. I have no clue what its name is, but it's a grade 1 that says if your opponent does not have a board, when this unit boosts for that battle, your opponent has to use 2 or more cards from hand to guard. It's a simple grade 1. It does a lot of work.
I think it's from. I think I know which set it's from. I think it's from Heroic Evolution, possibly.
Yeah, I've been
think
on
so
DFA
too.
this whole time, so I can just go try and find it real quick.
No, because I remember because when I was opening boxes, I remember because the thing I did on stream, the thing I try and do when I open product, is at least first time I read through the skill of every single card I open, so that possibly people might go, oh yeah, like because like I know around Heroic Evolution they had a big trend going on, presumably because this was like the hero set, of fulfill X condition, your opponents must scar with 2 or more. That was like the big budget theme of the set. He's going the power, so like the offensive options are on the high end, but low.
Sorry, I'm here. I heard Waterfall. I heard guard with 2 cards.
Oh, so you're stealing now, are you?
No. Let me get this straight about these budget Kaguras here. So everybody who's watched my channel
the first card I found, by the way, was the one we were talking about.
knows that I am literally obsessed with Dual X Archdragon and Dragonic Waterfall. That deck, I swear by it. I stand by it. It is very good. And y'all were talking about, correct me if I'm wrong, just so I could kind of add my input since I'm back, about like how these budget options like can affect games, right?
Yeah, and how the budget options provide a lot of tools for decks that people don't see because they don't go ooh shiny.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the things that playing Dual X Waterfall has opened me to is how a lot of the Kagura support may look specific on paper, but actually meshes well together as a unit. You know, Wyvern Strike, Garn, and Doha, their skill is generic, can be splashed into any Kagura deck. And with the new pieces that can be used to retire certain cards, you could create a board wipe pretty easily, making his garbage trick skill active. And if you have Dual X, your opponent has to guard with 2 or more cards just off that. Okay, Phil, I hear you, man. I'm sorry.
I just gotta mention this one thing, and Alex can attest. Whenever I believe was out of the OG Blade Master or so on, I can't remember anymore. We're coming out. The Bushy leaked this grade 3, grade 2, grade 1 common combo that gave you almost 6 attacks on rear guard. Remember? It was something like retire this specific grade 2. It was a grade 3. I don't remember. For the hardest time, I was trying to splice that into some deck. There's like a grade 2 that gained 10k if you had a grade 3 on rear guard, and then a grade 3 that needed the specific grade 2 and grade 1 to get retired to restand itself on rear guard.
Well, actually,
Lava Blast Dragon, Dragon Knight Fahim, and Dragon Knight Nasir.
Okay, let me talk
That.
about Lava Blast Dragon. I made an OTK with that deck. With limited fight and that deck, you're able to have a turn where you deal 6 damage to your opponent. However, it's insanely fragile.
Speaking of, have you all ever tried playing standard time leap, by the way? Because it's possible.
Yeah, with up
The melons thing.
Yeah, with melon, up clutch,
I've played that
and
in limited, actually.
and up,
what my list for it in limited was like was it was.
But yeah, anyways,
it was
I'm done.
four. It was 4 of each of the upstream up clutch melon pieces,
Mhm.
and then it was 4 Chronojet, and then I ran 2 or 3 Isolate Lion.
yeah.
So the idea was to ride Chronojet, stride into Isolate Lion, and then call up clutch, and then call another piece from hand, and then you just look for the missing one on your tap.
Yeah, it's I think I once counted. I think I managed to get, 5 or 6 attacks in a turn off of that. And if you
it's
put
really
down,
good.
bro, if you put down force
Well,
2,
that's it.
if you the
It
best.
sounds great on paper. That's if you have CB.
I mean, the thing is, not many other things use CB for Gear Chronicle early on. Most of
Yeah,
CB comes
the
out
only
early.
other thing in that list that would be counterblasting would be Chronojet.
Yeah, Chronojet. That's it.
Oh man.
What?
That's a great three.
And even then, you're only counterblasting with Chronojet in your kill turn.
Although even then, like the way I used to play it was because when I tried building it, I built the time leap stuff. Well, I'm gonna call it time leap because it's Melon.
Time leap.
Yeah, you'd run that grade 3 that's like bind a card from deck, call an up clutch or an upstream over it. Like I don't care what it is, and then effectively keep trying to get like every single other turn if I didn't kill them because I play force 2. You'd run quickie workers to shuffle the ones you called over back into your deck. And then you'd call like a quickie over a quickie and call the quickie back into the deck, and you'd always get into a cycle of like shuffling them back in. So you're always playing with something, and it's like you get to the point where you can like attack, like when an attack call a melon, which is stand. Then when it attacks, call another melon. That melon then like boosts them, and like you call over it, and you kind of constantly get into a streak of like going in a circle, and like calling over and having like a third or a fourth one that always fulfills the other 2 conditions. So you almost get like a constant cycle of doing that on force 2 when your opponent has to guard with 2 or more cards from hand. Like eventually they're going to run out of cards. You're going to have to let some attacks through, and when they let those attacks through, you win the game. And that's a deck that costs
Like $10.
10, $20 to build if you buy the trial deck, or like
Yeah.
buy like two booster packs. Like what is it, like 4
Like
res?
for real, I have a bunch of the cards for that, and then I just need like the quickie workers and the up clutch upstream melon cards.
Dude, if you run
Because
with
what people at my
Naboo
level
in it,
did was they ordered display cases of all the trial decks to try and get the right foils, and then I just managed to get the common versions of the other 2 trial decks off of them, which it was pretty good. I did a good job.
But actually, I was wondering, guys, how you guys felt about, like, how would you feel about, speaking of time leap, like, how do you guys feel about kind of in the future getting sort of like premier mechanics coming back, and how much do you think they should adhere to the way they used to play? So, for example,
So I'm
Time
not
Leap
sure if we
came
should
back,
just wholesale
but-
get keywords back. I'm not sure if we should get keyword abilities back per se, right?
but like
But
when
it
the
is
break, for
kind of
example.
weird how, like, for example, Aquaforce would just keep printing cards that were wave but not really.
Wave, but don't support the
I-
actual keyword.
Yeah, they were wave, but you couldn't search them off of call a wave card from your deck.
I like more of the sense of like this kind of giving us more original things, like Seven Seas using markers and Ghidorah using markers and having more
Astropoet making a
Astropoet,
marker.
yeah, like having newer effects and things. But I know like giving support to some other stuff, like kind of wave abilities and stuff like that is cool. But don't like completely go left field. Like, the thing I hated about Giera was Murakami. You couldn't even play anything but Thunderstrike because everything was so focused on Thunderstrike. And I hated that. Like, I like to have a diversity of builds and not having to say this is the only deck I can play because every support card is built around to this playstyle.
Besides, at the end of G, you mean like Brave?
Oh yeah, that's the other thing is like we already brought up like an hour ago probably about like alt mile. Trying to play premium alt mile is something else because you want to play the new cards, but then they're like, oh, no counterblast, and you do a thing. But then the other cards are like, you counterblast to do multi-attacks, though.
Like the one I like is that I remember I sent it to Sean was like this random meme of like, you know, when you try and take standard, like, you know, when you ride Ultimate Raz, you have like 4 counterblast available, and it's a guy with 2 guns. Like, so then I started blasting.
Yeah.
Like
I can't remember if Next to the Night actually made that one or if they just posted that one somewhere.
Like the whole thing with keywords, when Bermuda Triangle got Melody, I was thinking, all right, so it's a preview of keywords maybe, because that when Melody came in and just wrecked standard for how many months, it was I guess it was kind of interesting for Bushi to see, like, okay, maybe we shouldn't have the keyword thing be so prevalent. But when they're introducing the new skills, I do agree, like, there are times where, yeah, you would have Thunderstrike or Wave or Harmony, and you can only play efficiently with those cards. And if there's any cards that don't match the keyword, they either have to be good on their own, or they have to be so justifiably good that it would be... you can't really run a deck without this type of card.
But the issue potentially with cards that are justifiably good enough on their own, that they almost become like a flaw where if they're that good on their own, then if an archetype ever comes back that's better than what's currently available, like, it's just going to be that much better. Potentially.
It could be. There could be cards that would be amplified as well as replaced when new cards are out. Like, just seeing how the market reacts in response to some of the cards revealing, and then you just see, like, okay, what's happening on the market right now. It's something that can be so volatile, but then again, it can be kind of exciting because you get to see, like, which of these cards are going to be good. And this goes for both standard and premium. So I believe that it's a really interesting thing just to see how the keywords or how the skills in general would play off of each other. Like, when I first heard of the treasure markers, when I first heard of just the tokens, the token grade 3s that Blade Master would generate, I thought that this could be a great way to kind of incorporate, but while still using some of the older cards, that doesn't, like, shut off a player from completely considering other cards to incorporate into this deck. Because man, the whole
What's
deck
kind of
building
important
process
for
all that.
premium is that, like, in the case of Night Rose, for example, they technically brought back hollow. They were just like, Night Rose just makes your field hollow, I guess. But you have to play in a different way to use that with cards like Grenache, with cards like cards that say, like, when they're retired or something, right?
Like, looking into
retired by hollow.
talking about cards right now, and then what they might be able to do in the future whenever Overdress comes and stuff like that. We touched on it ever so slightly, but Spy Brothers is one of the best examples. Whatever grade 3 they get in the future, Rising Nova is going to look at it and go, I'm going to grab that and something else and do it better.
Thing is, how do you think there's an argument to be made for those kind of baseline cards, though? So, for example, Rising Nova will never be worse than he is now, and he can only get better. So he's almost like a safe investment baseline card, because
like they gotta pull the guy. This is a great example. Gear Groovy. Whenever Gear Groovy came out, ever since after that, any other Gear Chronicle Stride did not have an auto ability for the longest time.
Sorry, he's my favorite card.
Like, Gear Groovy took auto abilities and made him like, okay, anything that comes out, Gear Groovy's just gonna do it and better. And then they started making strides without auto abilities. It was like, okay, Gear Groovy can't touch it. How are they gonna do that for Rising Nova? Rising Nova doesn't care about auto continuous or act. He just grabs the ability.
I know how. Because you look at whatever card, like, say we're getting Dudley.
All right.
You don't play Dudley. You
play Rising Dudley. You play Rising Dudley.
Yes, Rising Dudley. But no, they could just restrict it to rearguard skills, better rearguard skills. That way it doesn't invisible with it. But then you're making.
But then you don't have a boss unit.
Yeah.
But the thing is, do you think there could possibly be a case made that would make the player base upset because an errata has invalidated their investment in the game? So if a card is baseline good that warrants an investment, say I'm a Spikes player. Say I finally got a pair of Spikes I like. I can invest in, like, SVR or SP Dudley. I spend $40-50 a pop. I end up with a playset. I spend $200 on it. Tomorrow it gets errated where I can't use it on Vanguard anymore, and it's just like, oh. Then you're just gonna get more people mad at the game.
There's a very similar argument to that where we've actually faced this a lot. Especially, no, not me. I played these clans. I'm dedicated. I'm never changing. And you got like Alex, who likes to jump around sometimes. Like to me,
He goes around.
you
sometimes,
link
yeah.
jumper cards around Messiah come out. It's gonna be fairly cheap for me to upgrade because I have everything. To him, if he decides to build, let's say, Neo Nectar, he doesn't have any Neo Nectar cards. Something new comes out that might be cheap, but now he has to grab all these old stuff that just might have jumped in price. Like I am very sad for anybody who wasn't and decided he wants to be a Shadow Platinum player.
Yeah, like, because like we always joke about how like, oh, if you didn't buy domains, you didn't want to play Shadow Paladin. But like, it is really such a shame that Shadow Paladin is just such an inaccessible clan, for example. Especially considering that like their mechanic overall is really cool.
Well,
we're gonna go hit you. We're gonna come to your house and beat you up.
I have my Luot split coming in a few days.
But
yeah,
for
like,
example, right? Sorry, go ahead.
to kind of, you know, just kind of close out my kind of say on it, and like, I hope heading into Overdress, you know, Cardfight Vanguard is a great game. We're approaching our 10th anniversary. Everybody in Cardfight Con, no matter how much we talk negative to y'all, you know, we don't know what's going on, and kind of just, you know, had an actual conversation about the game. I think in the end, we all want this game to succeed, and heading into Overdress, the expectation that we have is that Bushwood will continue to love this game, even if they don't have a good way of showing it. And
so it's really clear that Bushroad is at least trying to listen to us, right? Because like,
yeah, and we want Bushroad to have a healthy
like,
game.
We wouldn't have gotten things like the Luard restriction, and we wouldn't have gotten things like clan selection.
But there's
Premium
one
selection has
key
been an
fact.
example of that, where like people were like, "But won't premium just get really boring if all of our G zones are the same forever?"
Like,
And
there's
then they
one
were
key
like, "Okay,
fact.
we're just gonna give you a new guy every year. How about that?"
All right, so there's one key fact that's, I'm pretty sure, true for anybody that's in this con, for any panel, for any YouTuber, any card fighter that's here. This has to be true. We're bashing on the game, yeah, sure, but we're bashing on the game because we like the game, we support it, and we love it. Otherwise, we wouldn't even waste our time talking about it.
Exactly.
Yeah, like,
and Cardfight Con was brought about because we want
Vanguard
better.
so much. I would talk about Vanguard all the time. Like, even when I have a problem with something that's going on in Vanguard, I'm talking about it because I'm like, man, Vanguard can be so fun.
Also, the thing.
Because for example, if I'm like, man, I really hate playing the Luard matchup or whatever, I like the game. That's why I keep playing the Luard matchup, is because I keep going to play the game.
But I think also oh, sorry, no, Alpha, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So going back to the Shadow argument, Shadow Paladin is inaccessible to be competitive. People can pick up budget Shadow Paladins, and yes, it sounds like a misnomer in and of itself, but people can build budget Shadow Paladins and then slowly grind their way to get the deck. So we can't say it's completely inaccessible. Second,
so here's the sad thing, right?
Yeah.
Is like, for example, in limited, you guys remember Festival Collection, right? That reprinted all those cards as rares. So every card that was in Festival Collection is legal in limited. So I feel so bad for people who are like, I want to play Shadows in limited, because they're still gonna get hit by people who picked up domains.
Well, the main and the reprinting is a completely different thing. It's an issue in and of itself. The main is the main, and I haven't seen a card just go kind of just popular post every single time, or even when I pop into Discord, I see the main. I'm like, all right, we're gonna have a conversation
You're about to
about
laugh
her
at
again.
me. You're about to laugh at me. I sold my domain, my triple rare domain from VBTO3 for about $9, about 5 days before it went up to about 40. I wanted to die. Same thing happened 3 weeks ago with Gauntlet Buster Dragon. I sold it for $11 a day before it went to 30.
Okay, so let's talk about Narukami for a second, because now we've discussed enough of the broad, like, future meta predictions. Eradicator is good, but it's not as good as you think it is, because it's just Gauntlet Buster again, and Gauntlet Buster wasn't as good as you think it is.
I was gonna say let's Alphonse started talking, so just let him finish that. Sorry.
Yeah. So the thing is, though, we can't really predict what Bushiroad is going to do in the future to a certainty. Like the way with selling cards, believe me, trading cards, we are unregulated securities. Anything can happen to the market overnight, whether it's somebody posting an article that they found out a broken combo, or somebody just realized that, wait, this new card that's coming out is not as good as people think it is, and therefore it affects the value of it. I think what we have to look when looking into specific cards, from like Eradicators to 7Cs and all that stuff, there's a lot of factors to consider. But then again, it's kind of like we're living in a whole big card fighting society where we have our general idea of what this meta looks like. But then when you go to each particular locals and region, you see the metas kind of change a little bit, such as what we discussed before with the people using teching different cards or people trying out completely new builds. And I think it's through there that we realize that you have your meta abroad or a meta in the global, and then you have the meta in the local, where maybe there is some times where people, when Chaos Breaker first came out and he was just wrecking stuff, the entire locals was building decks just to try and deal with Chaos Breaker a little bit more than their usual deck. And that was the take that it was. So players that would come into our shop and say, like, why are you running these cards? I hate Chaos Breaker, man. Because you just see, like, you notate, like, every single Chaos Breaker player in the store, and, like, oh, that's why you run that card.
For the longest time, there's one Cray Elemental that's this perfect example because of the meta, Honolulu. Whenever you had too many decks that multi-attack, you just threw one or two copies of Honolulu and said, you know what, no, I'm done with this.
Yeah. It's right. Yeah.
So, like, for example, at my locals, I'm the only person who owns Night Rose.
Must be sad.
So I've never had to worry about playing against Night Rose, not even once.
Yeah. And so you have those little ticks in the meta that come into play, and that's why when people do deck profiles at sometimes at the stores, we get people that show off these different techs, and then we see in action and play. And so the meta is always constantly evolving. It's just that the awareness of it, we may not be aware of these changes, but once they hit that post or when they hit that share, then you just see, like, oh, this is going to catch on like wildfire. And then you have this ripple effect that goes into the market, that goes into the availability of the card. This goes into any of the future cards that come out to see, oh, now we have another card to add to the pool that should have a prevalent spot, because if this card is released, what does this do for this card? And to anybody attending this panel, any prediction you have, it's never going to be 100%. We can try and show what the past has provided to it, but then again, we're not acting on that critical mass of data. We're acting on what we know generally, what we know with our play groups, and what we know with our locals. And then from there, everything just starts to change, and that's probably the most exciting part of why I play Cardfight Vanguard, because just see, like, all right, the wheels are turning, the wheel of fate is turning, we're all going to change in, and
don't you mean the gears of fate?
There's one thing we can say with absolute certainty, and you won't stop me from saying, and will be 100% true. 100% true.
Is that we know the Italian meta to a T.
Accurate to a T. Spectral Dragon will turn Gold Paladin into the strongest clan in Vanguard, and will stay that way for the next 5 years. Thank you.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
And
I think we've been at it for 3 hours.
I think about an hour and a half. Only an hour and a half.
An hour and a half.
Yeah.
The people see.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my bad. Shout out to Sean for that text reminder.
Talk about it for multiple hours at a time. It's great.
Yeah.
I love the game.
Any YouTuber will agree. 20-minute video just got posted. It wasn't 20 minutes recording.
It wasn't 20 minutes.
It wasn't.
Thing is, how do you guys? What do you guys think the future YouTube meta is going to be?
Post a 30-minute video.
I think that's a question for Top Deck Heroes on the YouTuber panel.
What's the YouTube meta?
30 minutes, but only because I was like, I didn't talk to anybody else. I just talked into the camera, and as such, I need as much of this as I can.
The thing is, like, the worst part is, like, whenever I try and bring up, like, what I think are cool deck ideas, people are like, oh, it just doesn't work. I was like, I don't care. That's not the way I play this game. I want to play. The thing is, no, I play this game for the moment when you pull something on your opponent and their replies to just so you go, wait, can I read that card for a second? Like, what does that do? And then that moment you're just there, just according to plan. Just according to Cake.
I'm still thinking about the time I went into the remote fight server and somebody played Urkab on me for the first time, and I was like, okay, what's that? and then they read it to me, and I was like, oh, that's insane. Like, I love that stuff, you know?
Yeah, it's like when you read that one like card ability and your head just goes, oh, I see it.
I feel like we had those moments way too much during this panel.
Yeah, right?
Especially talking about Gear Chronicle.
Hey, Gear Chronicle, Shadow Paladin,
7 Seas,
Listen,
like
I'm gonna be
Dual X Waterfall.
Speaking of which, does anybody then want to mention the fact that they made in Standard a whole archetype around sages and witches in Genesis?
Yeah, which is really funny because like you don't have any of those witch cards, and like I'm pretty sure what they do is like entirely different from what Genesis witches do in Premium, so you can't even combine it with all that backlog of witch support.
So welcome to playing Gear Chronicle in Standard. The only usability of Gear Chronicle in Premium is, hey, this one has force markers. This means my melon can go to 21k base. What do you mean? That's not a problem. That's easy game.
Hey, at least with my old Sandguard, I could search Zazan.
God.
oh,
All one of them.
that card.
Beautiful.
Oh god.
All one of them. But yeah.
Hey, Kagura players are loving it. They got Conroy for that.
Oh yeah, right.
Spike Brothers. Okay, one of the Demon World castles is the Self Damager.
Hey, it works. You're not 6 damage. It's Exodia.
It lets you slap yourself so you can feel bad for playing that deck.
Speaking of self-damagers, it's a very, I don't know if anybody thought about this. One of my friends is a great nature player, came to me with this combo. I was like, hey, does this work? And he was talking about some sort of great nature combo where he would ride the progenitor, pass turn, his opponent would start attacking, he was like at 3 damage, and then he would G-guard, call the damage at her, go to 4 damage. G-guard, call the damage at her, go to 5 damage. G-guard, call the damage at her, go to 6 damage. Lose the game, get back to 5 because of the progenitor, and then heal 3 more.
What the hell?
Wait.
That's some big brain players.
Learn something new every day.
Wait. I thought self-damage is only triggered when you had 4 or less.
Yeah, 4 or less. Because all the 6k, 8k ones, if you have 5, if you have...
You can't kill yourself with that.
Okay, so then he could take a hit. He could take a hit though and lose.
No. So the old ones you could use. It's the ones in 0 that only trigger 4 or less.
Yeah.
0 Echo.
Listen, man, I have 0/8 brain. Okay, I still think I get 5k on defensives.
Because apparently both of the self-damagers are Demon World castles.
Yeah, and then for every damage you take, your Vanguard gets 5k. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, exactly. Triggers go to drop zone. What do you mean?
Exactly. It's totally how this game works.
And my mind is really boggling from now CO plays. Oh god, PTSD.
Broken Heart?
I'll never forget those timeouts. I was like, God, please, no, I don't want to see this doctor rep for it again. This guy's, no, please.
Just waking up in a cold sweat. Don't worry, no CL can heal you.
My god.
Can we just point out that we never got a card like Still Vampire for DI ever again, and that art was insane.
Oh man, Still Vampire, that was a good boy. He's a good boy.
Gone too soon.
It's okay. The Soul Charge support got better.
Yeah. Oh man, seeing oh my god, why did I forget the G era again? I freaking named it. Shaharlet. Yeah. Shaharlet, yeah.
I have a love-hate relationship with that card only because I only know how to say its name because I watched the anime.
Shaharuto.
Are you talking about the V era one or the end of G era?
The V era one. The V era
Also,
one. Oh, I think I forgot what I was going to say. I think I
You're
just got
saying
caught up.
about Shara.
Oh yeah, Shaharat. Yeah, that was, man. Because I made DI quite a bit in G era, so seeing Veer Shaharat with like a very intriguing skill is like, okay, he's not like the Shaharat that I knew before, but damn, I love this new Shaharat now. Like,
I mean, what did he even do besides Soul Charge. Retire.
Oh, no. Hold on. Because I was also a Shahar main back in G era.
Hey.
Version 1 was alright. Like, it came out with Messiah and all that, and it was interesting. There's just nothing to kind of go, you had Gilderay. Gilderay was your best card.
Yeah, he's the
then
boy.
version 2 came along and was like, alright, we'll see where this is going. Version 3 was where it was at. Because you got him, you got Balam, you got the guy that gained 10k and no grade zeros, you got the Tiger that gained 1k for every card in Soul, and you went ham with stand triggers.
You guys remember how long it took us to get Where Tiger Jaeger?
Yo, Jaeger. I always call him the Jaeger shot. It was like, oh, I get to draw one. And it's just like, take a shot, draw a card. And
going back to promos, and we need them.
Yeah, right?
That's actually back in the promo conversation, because that was a promo in G that we didn't get forever, and then they just slipped it into one of the main sets with a DI. With the DI.
So basically, Echo's gonna time lead this section of the panel.
wait, now we're going back to a future thing that we talk about?
No, thing is, dude, it's a call forward. That's how next level our comedy gets. We make references to jokes we haven't even made yet.
Yeah, right?
God, we're all common writers now. God
yeah,
bless.
right?
Wibbly wobbly time we want to post edit.
Yeah.
Hey man, we're gonna cut this.
Cut the feed.
But
It's all
yeah,
in the works.
I think that's future meta projections.
Yeah, I think we talked about text, we talked about future stuff, we talked about markets and values, but
we talked about markets, we talked about values, we talked about playing alternative formats to remember older cards for when they're relevant.
How do we get the promos?
I mentioned it at the very beginning.
yeah. It's a hot topic discussion.
Yeah.
But as long as there's a meta, there'll always be people that will champion the meta and always people that will break the meta. How you determine your local meta, that's up
the
to
real
you.
question, guys, for everybody in chat, leave it in the comments below. Are you a meta breaker or a meta slave?
Or do you not care? Just want to play for fun?
One thing I wanted to say about the metagame and whatnot. There's a lot of people talking bad about net decking or whatever, and it's
hey, it's your boy.
It's not that it's not an issue, because here's the thing is, even if two players play the same deck, if they have different skill levels, there will be different results. And then on top of that,
I feel like people who blame losses on net decking are just looking for an excuse to why they lost.
I can see you.
Yeah, and then on top of that, the deck is if you find a list that is optimized and winning, why wouldn't you try to learn how it works?
It's like
there's and it's especially that big attitude that especially if you're a younger person in the scene, you get, because you're trying to be a big shot, only winning with your unique deck that has never been played before ever, and it's it's okay to play good decks.
Just hides away my messianic list.
Yeah, you don't have to be oh, this person is a meta sheeper or whatever because they play a deck that's good, and it's whatever, play a good deck. But I know some people who buy good decks and are still not particularly good players.
Yeah.
Especially ones that are I know what kinds of decks are good. I will not look at other people's lists because I don't want to net deck them. That's even worse.
Yeah, trial decks are a good thing to start with for going into it. I think with getting friends involved in the Cardfight Vanguard, you want to see what type of playstyle they vibe with. Do they like going aggro rush? Do they like messing with your opponent's board or resources? Do you like just drawing a bunch of cards and having all these option plays? I think from there, once you decide what playstyles or what type of way they like to play the game, then you can start with the categories, so field manipulation, hand manipulation, resource engines, etc. But then you also think of okay, there are also the other players where the waifu's at, or where the hook combo's at, and then you kind of
where them big anime titties. Where them big anime titties.
Yeah, so you have those particular two audiences, and then you can just see how they vibe with each other. Because once you find the one or two clans that will vibe with, then you can introduce them to like the basic stuff, and then as they get slow, you're like, oh, why is this card like $25? So, well, let me tell you the grand story of this VR, and then you can get them involved there. Because the key thing is to not drain their wallet from the beginning. Start them off with something budget, and then let that seed grow and see if they say, hey, I'll buy this ASR Luard, let's do it. I'm like, okay.
Dumbass.
Yeah, like for
it's
example, a really good way to get people to try the game is to be like, here's a limited fight deck, let's play.
Thing is, what I told people always is like, the idea is to like almost walk people, like, so for example, like I said, it's like to almost get people to the point where to make them think that they have a choice when they don't. So for example, if someone goes, I want to buy ASR Luard, you slide it all, well, it's my birthday next week. You know, just slide a quick one of those, you know. Who knows? Maybe they'll buy you a car. Who knows? They got money to throw around. Fuck it. Who knows? Maybe they'll just buy you a Herrera deck. Heck knows, it costs them like a fifth of that one card.
Hey, my birthday's actually next Tuesday from when we're recording this. Oh no, next Monday. So.
Boy, I just bought a bunch of decks. I'm broke.
So my list includes better fantasy football running backs and a whole fully SP out Luard deck. So if anybody wants to donate to the cause.
Hey, so if anybody wants to donate for the purposes of helping me finish Gurgit when the set releases, I do have a Ko-Fi linked in my Twitter bio. So
I got one better. Nobody tell him, because we know we're not going to bring it up. Tomorrow's technically Alex's birthday.
Technically?
Well, this will be cut, but
technically in the sense of out of the time of recording this.
Oh, I see.
People will know. No shit, he outs us now. People know when this is getting recorded. Shit,
Yeah.
ousted.
One ASR Luard, one PS5 Xbox.
you get an ASR. You get an ASR.
Things actually.
You guys ever tried asking family?
Everybody watching in the audience gets a PS5.
Did you guys not see the because okay, admittedly I'm really proud of Microsoft because Microsoft finally understood internet memes. When they tweeted, "Are you winning, son?" and the official Xbox account replied, "Yes, Dad."
No, when Xbox had to tweet out recently saying like, I can't believe we're tweeting this, but please don't blow vape smoke into your Xbox, please. Like,
Okay.
this is a real tweet.
But before we get too off topic.
Yeah, that's true. I'm sorry. Is there anything else we want to bring up?
I think we're in the process of closing this, and then we said, you know what? No, keep going.
There's like, so here's the thing is there's just like a bunch more Vanguard to discuss, but there's not much more future meta predictions to discuss.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we have all these other panels.
Yes, guys.
Tune in
Go
to
check 'em
Cardfight Con
out.
on December 12th to 13th. Tune in, boys and grills.
But
Yeah.
I guess we just want to close it out and do some shout outs.
Yeah, possibly. So
Sure thing.
obviously let's go back around. So obviously, first of all, a huge thanks to Jesus for tuning by earlier. Huge thanks to Alex as well. I know he had to go. Make sure to check them out. Jesus obviously has his channels as well as his Facebook. That will be obviously linked in the description of the video, as well as everybody's link. Everyone's kind of like their main hub will all be in the description for this video when it goes live. It's currently just a Discord call. I'm trying to time leap into the future and see what the video is going to look like. I'll find out.
You gotta think like an editor. You gotta think like an editor.
I've never edited in my life.
It's a fun, laborious job.
It is.
But obviously, so
Labor of love.
huge thanks to
He's
Alex.
gonna forget to cut the confidential information. There we go.
Yeah, by the time it comes out, it won't be anymore. But the thing is, this is November 13th where I am. So happy birthday, Alex. Happy birthday. Patchy from everybody. So again, let's do another shout out round to remind the people where they can find you. I think we're going to go in reverse order this time. So we're going to start with Philip, go to Sean, go to Alphon, and go to Amy.
All right, so again, thank you everybody for tuning in to this panel. It was amazing. All these guys are amazing, and like he said, all the channels and where you can find them is going to be in the description. I've been Philip from Top Deck Heroes. Alex had to leave a bit early, but he did say goodbye. And like always, check us out on YouTube and our Facebook, and maybe even join our Discord.
Nice. Nice. Go on Winning Image. Where can they find you?
You can find me obviously where this con's being shown. But real talk, I do want to say thank you to all the viewers for coming and supporting the con. I want to say thank you to all the creators who said yes to this crazy idea. You guys rock. I'm super grateful. I'm super thankful. I can't do this without each and every one of you, no matter how big, how small, YouTube or not, Twitch, whatever. I'm really grateful, and I was just, I'm happy to be here. I'm speechless, you know. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, shout out to the fellow content creators for coming together, putting this. Sean, thank you for heading up this effort. It's always nice to meet other people that are as passionate about the game as you are, and to just be able to have conversations like this. I never thought I would be able to get with all these wonderful people that all create content for and keep this card game going. It's just also amazing. Also, just shout outs to my team Gradelock Fam Bam. Also, two people that are also going to be on panels too, Henry and Mama John. So feel free to check them out as well.
Mama John.
Yeah.
Represent.
Yes. Feel free to check out Team Gradelock's YouTube channel. As I said before, we also have a Twitter that we post to occasionally, and of course my personal information. Instagram Alphonsus and Twitter at the Alphonsus.
Nice.
Okay, so I'm gonna do my shoutouts first, or else I'll forget. I'm leaving Garmore on YouTube and Twitter. I was serious about that Ko-Fi link, by the way, because I am a crowd-funded Vanguard YouTuber. But I had a lot of fun today. It was really good to just discuss where the game is and where the game's going, as well as a bit of where the game's been. Because like it sort of gives me this perspective, you know. Like I've been saying for a while that we think about the new hype decks, we think about the next big thing, and we're like, oh, this is a problem and whatnot. And sometimes we're right, but other times you've got like a million semi-viable B tier decks you could be playing. And this is just one step in looking at it.
I think probably important to like kind of recognize where we've come from in order to be able to recognize how far we've come since where we are now, and kind of put ourselves in a position to go towards the future. So myself, obviously, thank you guys for letting me be your host here. I'm Echo on YouTube. I am Echo CVZ. Same on Twitter. I primarily just shitpost, but I'm hoping to have some more high quality content, as it were, at some point once I figure out how to edit things without making my computer go up in flames. You'll also find mostly on Twitch playing that filthy casual game of Cardfight Vanguard 0 on twitch.tv/EKO_CBG. So I want to say once again a huge thank you for our panelists. Going to get a little round of applause going for them. I'm going to go quiet because my family's asleep and they're going to kill me.
Yep.
And guys,
Echo, real quick.
Oh yeah.
You said where we started and where we are. I was watching like my video cam throughout the beginning, right? When I started, my hair was straight, and now it's kind of doing. It's like I have a snap-on Lego head right now.
Boys, you can tell how long this took by keeping track of Sean's hair and background.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can.
You can tell he's actually legally compelled to switch background scenery every 30 minutes. So based on how many different backgrounds he's had, you can tell how long we've been recording this for.
So
you can
people
buy my hair
timestamps.
loosely. The link in the description.
So guys, once again, huge thank you for the panelists. Thank you very much for everybody for watching. I hope you guys had a good time. Hope you guys had a blast, and stay tuned for more panels for Cardfight Con. Thanks for watching, guys.